Hi, folks. I would like to extend a very warm welcome to this free monitoring and evaluation course or monitoring and evaluation training. It is surely a wonderful privilege to have you come to this course. It's totally free, and my name is Coach Alexander. I want to make sure that whatever you learn today is going to add value in your work. Now, I'd like to mention also that monitoring and evaluation practice is a very wide field and it's very dynamic. Every year, things keep on changing for the better. Now, since you've come to this monitoring and evaluation online course, what is monitoring and evaluation? Let's get straight to business. I don't like wasting too much time, but we need to go straight to the nitty gritties. But before I go there, let me tell you a bit about myself. I have 7 years of experience in the M&E field. I've been specialized in capacity building, skills training of various categories of development actors. I launched my very first YouTube channel in August 2016 entitled M&E Made Simple. I'm sure you have already seen it. If not, please go to this link. It is a growing channel, and I must say personally, these are results I was not expecting, because even though I've written over 4,000 visitors and over 70 subscribers. Last time I checked, I had actually 100 subscribers. And in my view, I think this channel is going to grow. There's a growing interest in monitoring and evaluation. I personally don't know why, but people are getting interested. So let's go down to the nitty gritties, folks. Well, this is my presentation agenda, but I would like to tell you one thing, that in this presentation, I want to also touch on the importance of project monitoring and evaluation and how to do monitoring and evaluation. Those are some of the things I want to touch on. But first of all, according to the agenda, we have what the understanding of M&D. We want to know what the basic understanding of M&D is, and the understanding of a log frame, indicators, development of an M&E system, and M&E reporting. Now, just so that if you have a pen and paper, just so that you know, these last two modules, development of the monitoring and evaluation system and M&E report, and these are the most important parts of the whole presentation, and really I'm sure you're going to see why as we go on, but let's go down to business right now. So what is monitoring and evaluation? Well, you see, M&E is made up of two words. You've got the monitoring aspect and you've got the evaluation aspect. Both of these work together, but they have two different meanings. I mean, each has its own meaning and the other has its own meaning. So monitoring is a systematic process of collecting, analyzing, and using information to track progress towards reaching its objectives and to guide management decisions. So just to say this in a very simplistic manner, when we talk of monitoring, we are tracking, okay? Just underline that word. Monitoring is about tracking. But now evaluation, sorry, is the systematic assessment of an activity, project, program, strategy, policy, theme. Evaluation focuses on expected and achieved accomplishments. So evaluation is an in-depth assessment. Okay, so this is what I want you to remember. Okay, folks, I know you can memorize both these definitions, but please remember these two. When it comes to monitoring, you're looking at tracking. Okay, you're tracking activities and seeing whether you're moving towards your said objectives. But for evaluation, okay, for this word evaluation, it is an in-depth assessment. It's not just any other ordinary assessment, but what you're doing is carrying out an in-depth assessment of a project or program. So I have listed these two terminologies in summary. Monitoring is about tracking, and two, you've got evaluation, which is an in-depth assessment, which results in your learning so that perhaps that whatever knowledge you gain can contribute to future programming. Now, what is the confusion of monitoring and evaluation? Well, I don't know what it is, but most people like, okay, if I'm an M&D officer and I'm going to carry out M&D activities in my organization, or I've been contracted to do it in another organization, people get this weird feeling that it's an audit. Although they won't say it's an audit, but their legs start to tremble that you're going to monitor their activities. But let me tell you this one, folks. If that was your thinking, please, you have to throw it in the bin right now. Because the truth of the matter is that monitoring and evaluation is totally different from an audit. Although there can be that misconception, quite all right, but the truth of the matter is that when you do M&D activities, your goal is mainly to track, to learn, and to measure. You want to be able to know whether there have been any achievements in specific objectives and results. So you can see this lady, she is really confused right now. She's all over the place because she just thinks M&D is an audit. Okay, so let's get deep now. What does an audit, where is the line drawn between monitoring and evaluation and an audit? Well, with an audit, okay, just keep this in mind. An audit focuses on compliance. This is mainly, when you're in accounts, I'm not an accountant. I have never done accounts, but because I've taken the interest, I'm going to explain briefly. An audit focuses mainly on compliance with laws and regulations. Okay, but with monitoring and evaluation, that is not the case. You're simply just trying to make sure that whatever activities are being conducted in a project, are these activities leading to specific results that you had planned? And if that is not the case, the question is why. All right, that is the issue. But with an audit, you're simply just looking at compliance, you're looking at legal issues, efficiency, effectiveness, similar to M&D, but really they're two different things. So I just wanted to get this out of the way. The source material is here. If you have time, you can go through this link. So why is M&D there? All right. Why in the world is M&D present? Well, think of it this way. Imagine you, okay, each of us have goals in life, okay? I might dream that I want to become a billionaire in the next 5 years. Now, if I'm to achieve those goals, under normal circumstances, there are certain things I should be doing in life to work towards those goals. In short, I should have a plan. However, not many of us have plans, but in the development world, when you have a plan, the only way you're going to know whether you're moving towards your achievements, your targets, is if you're tracking, if you're doing some kind of an assessment. So monitoring and evaluation is there in order to help in measuring your objectives. How far have you gone in achieving your goals and objectives? That's why M&D is there, and that's why it's a crucial component of every project or program. It is sad to say that not many people view it the way it's supposed to be seen. All right, not many people view it the same way, but the truth is, if you ask me, it is like it is among the top three important things in every organization. It's the M&D component. So this, I've just given some quotes there that will open your mind as to why M&D is there. Firstly, there's a quote by Abraham Lincoln. This was on 22nd November 2012. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Okay, then the next quote says sometimes we need to stop analyzing the past and start planning the future. The next one, a goal without a plan is just a wish. So meaning that, you see, when you have a plan, okay, usually if you want to achieve your goals, if you want to achieve your aspirations in life, you need to have a plan. This is where most people get it wrong. Things don't just happen miraculously, but you have to be working towards it. Now, the only way you're going to know whether you are actually moving successfully towards your achievements is if you employ the M&E interventions. All right, so I've given some kind of picture here, an image of what I'm talking about. You see, you've got the inputs, you've got the activities, outputs, outcome, and impact. All right, so monitoring and evaluation, usually it it begins at the output outcome stage. So here you can see there's the monitoring and evaluation of results, which starts at outputs, outcomes, and impact. Then after that, whatever is monitored and evaluated will be fed to the management, and then management will use that information. Okay, you see the management is here. They'll use that information to implement actions. All right, they're going to take up actions that will feed into the next programming phase. All right, so now I've listed all the reasons down as to why M&E is there. Firstly, it provides the only consolidated source of information showcasing project progress. Every project, if you need information on that project, believe it or not, it's not going to come from the administration department. It's not going to come from the financial department. It's going to come from the M&E department, because these are the guys who are going to come up with a report. Second point, it allows actors to learn from each other's experiences. Third, it often generates reports that contribute to transparency and accountability. It reviews mistakes and offers paths for learning and improvement. So many lists. Please read through. I won't read every bit of it, but you can already see that you can already see where all this is heading to. The M&D unit is the source of the information for the project. Okay, so sorry it came out like this. All right, I transferred this presentation from Windows to the MacBook, so I didn't have time to really. But look, the heart of M&E is equals the log frame. There's something I need to tell you folks. If you're a newly recruited M&E officer who is feeling a bit lost, who doesn't know what to do, and you've been employed in an organization, you don't have time to read all those loads and loads of documentations that they want to share with you concerning a project, but they want you to beat a deadline. I want to tell you one thing today. It's not necessary to read all the books, all the strategic plans. Of course, you can read them, but not word for word. If you want to get things done fast, just go to the log frame, because that is where M&D begins. In my view, that's where you find a summary of the goals, the objectives, the indicators, assumptions, and so on and so forth. So a log frame is a graphic summary of the entire program. By definition, a log frame is a tool for improving the planning, implementation, management, monitoring, and evaluation of projects. The log frame is a way of structuring the main elements in a project and highlighting the logical linkages between them. Okay, so I guess you understand this clearly. So this is a summary of how a log frame looks like. Okay, you've got the overall objectives, you've got the specific objectives, specific results, and activities. This is how a logical framework looks like. But what is key for you are the indicators in this column. When you have an understanding that, okay, these are the indicators I'm going to be measuring, I need to be capturing, then you can be sitting back and relaxing as the day goes by. All right, so this is another example of a logical framework. You've got the project summary, you've got the indicators, you've got the means of verification, you've got the risks and assumptions. All right, so please, this is the heart, this is where everything begins, this is where you should begin, this is when you should start your journey to coming up with an effective report. So let's go to indicators. Now, I'm sure you've heard of indicators before. Indicators, dear ladies and gentlemen, are very important. Without indicators, there is no way you're going to be able to determine whether you're moving towards your goals and targets. Now, I want to tell you that on the United Nations on September 25th, 2015, all countries adopted a set of goals to end poverty around the world. Now, if you go deeper, if you do some research, you're going to realize that actually the total number of indicators were about 230 individual indicators. Like I said, sorry for the presentation outline. I had moved this from Windows to MacBook, but I hope you can see the compatibility issues are a problem, but I hope you can see that this figure here is 230 individual indicators. Now the question is, you've got all these indicators. The question is, why are people capturing all these indicators? Why? Here's another example. The World Bank. If you go to the World Bank, the World Bank, first to start with, the World Bank was founded on 27th, 1945, and their headquarters are in Washington, D.C. It currently monitors over 1,000 indicators. All right? So, why is there so much emphasis on indicators? That's one question I should ask you. Why is there so much emphasis? And the first question we should be asking ourselves, what are indicators? Well, by definition, indicators are specific empirical measurements required to monitor progress towards achieving a goal. That's what indicators are. So, these are definitions you find all over the internet in so many books, but even when I can define this myself. These are indicators are a means to measure change, okay? When you have an indicator, you're able to you're able to gauge whether you're actually moving towards your set results or not. So there are so many examples of indicators around the world, but I chose, like I said, 230 indicators. Wow, that's a lot. But I chose just a few examples of indicators. You've got GDP growth, life expectancy at birth, literacy rate, agricultural productivity. These are examples of indicators. Now, here's a practical example. Do you see this man here? He's a farmer who has obviously quite a number of dairy animals on his farm. But how is production measured? All right, how is production of milk measured? If you asked him, what kind of indicator is he going to choose to measure milk production? That is an obvious thing. He's going to use number of liters per cow and also number of cows, because the more liters you produce, the more production there is. The less liters you produce, the less production. The more cows you have, the more production. The less production. So that's how it is. Those are indicators. All right. So you want to be able to track indications as to whether things are moving in the right direction or they are falling short. So indicators provide a means to measure progress. Indicators provide a solid basis to report on the work achieved And there are also other important reasons which you can explore, but I'm sure you get the main point. These are meant to make your life easier. So back to the log frame. If you can look at the log frame right now, there are indicators from the goal, the outcome, the output, and activities. All these lists all the indicators. Okay, standard procedure to indicator development. As an M&E officer, it is standard practice that you follow these four major steps when it comes to indicator development. Number one, identify all concepts to be measured, especially projects, objectives, and outputs. Number two, standard practice is you should develop a list of possible trial indicators. Number three, assess each trial indicator against criteria. And finally, select the best indicators for this project. So what this is telling you, at inception of your project, you have perhaps 130, 240 indicators for a project. But it is up to you to find those key indicators which, given your resources, time, and capacity, you are able to measure. There's one thing you need to remember, folks. Indicators need to be smart. Smart means they should be specific, they should be measurable, they should be achievable, they should be relevant, they should be time bound. I've seen indicators during my experience in the M&D field that don't qualify as indicators simply because they fall short of one of these qualifications. You might find an indicator that is measurable, but it may not be specific. You might find an indicator that is relevant, but it may not be achievable. Let me give you an example. Imagine you have an indicator, reduce poverty reduction. That is achievable. But if you say reduce poverty reduction by 100% in 6 months, that is not achievable. So that indicator is relevant, but is it achievable? It's not. It is important to critically look at what you are doing. So, understanding the M&E cycle. First of all, the M&E cycle is part of the project. So, for one thing you need to realize is that monitoring and evaluation is an ongoing activity, and it has all these stages. First of all, you say initial needs assessment, project design, M&E planning, baseline, midterm evaluation, final evaluation, learning input. All right, so all that are the stages. Now, I can explain each and every point if you want me to, but that might just take time. I'll summarize this just in 1 minute. What this is showing you is that when you design a project, when you're starting a project, when you're designing a project, that is the beginning of monitoring and evaluation. Okay. In other organizations, they won't call their monitoring and evaluation officers just as M&E officer. They'll even include this is a planning, monitoring, and evaluation officer because of the planning. That's where M&E begins. It starts from there. Okay. If you remember, folks, I had mentioned that the M&E system and development, M&E reporting is the most important. Now we come to the most important part of the presentation. And when I say important, I mean every word I say, because truth be told, this part of the whole presentation is the lifeblood of M&E. This is where M&E begins and this is where it ends. Here I'm talking about the development of an M&E system, folks. You see, when somebody is asked whether they know what M&E is, they will usually answer yes to that question. But the truth is most people only know M&E based on previous slides I showed you, but nothing on the development of the M&E system and report writing on M&E interventions. This is the most important section of everything by far. One colleague of mine, let me give you an experience. One colleague of mine who had been studying medicine explained to me that during his early years, he was always doing extremely fine when it came to theory in exams. However, he came to realize that studying medicine wasn't in the theory papers, but medicine lied in the practical. That's just how it is with this section we'll be handling. When you have a strong M&E system, this sends the right signals to potential donors, dear friends. When I say potential donors, I'm talking about tapping into funds from US aid, Irish aid, and so on. This section is going to explain step by step process you should employ when formulating this M&E system. Now, a lot of times you hear of people talking about collecting data using web-based technology. This section covers that information. Do you have problems composing a budget? It will also highlight to you how to formulate an M&E budget, an annual work plan, what key activities should always be included. It will go into details of how to come up with key performance indicators, how to come up with an M&E plan, everything you need to know about formulating terms of references for consultants. Friend, I'm telling you, this section is really packed and intense. If you source this specific training from a consultant, you would be charged a heavy fee, maybe even over $1,000. But speaking of consultants, I need to tell you one thing. They may not be the best option in M&D systems development. Now, I want to tell you something, folks. Development of an M&D system, you need to ask yourself these questions. What is involved? Who is involved? What is the time frame? What techniques should be employed? So, are you ready to get started in this training? Are you ready, folks? If you are interested of being trained in the development of M&D systems and M&D reporting, please note we are going to have to let you click on the link here. If you look at this link here, click on it, get access to this training. You are going to be, you go through a lot of important information. And one thing for sure, you will have continuous access to this training. You will have some support from me. You can use the information on this training to open up your own consultancy. You have access to this training at just a small fee, but nothing I'm sure you can't handle compared to what you would get from a consultant. So if you are interested, get started by clicking on the box that you see and you get access to this training. This is a monitoring and evaluation training. This has been Coach Alexander, and see you on the other side.